Imagine a family so powerful their fortune was said to surpass that of entire nations. A name that became synonymous with unimaginable wealth, ruthless ambition, and high society scandals. They lived in mansions as grand as palaces, threw parties that rivaled those of European royalty, and their influence stretched across the American landscape. But behind the grandeur was a story of fierce rivalries, broken promises, and a relentless quest for power that would eventually tear them apart. This is the story of the Vanderbilts, a dynasty that rose from the docks of New York to build an empire that shaped America, only to fall from grace within a few generations. The Vanderbilt family's story is a captivating tale of rags to riches marked by ambition, strategic brilliance, and dramatic turns of fate. It all began with Cornelius Vanderbilt, a man whose vision and tenacity transformed him from a poor ferry boy into the richest man in America. His legacy, however, would become a double-edged sword, laying the groundwork for one of the most infamous family sagas in American history, a saga filled with spectacular achievements and equally spectacular failures. Cornelius Vanderbilt was born in 1794 on Staten Island, New York, to a modest farming family. From a young age, Cornelius exhibited an entrepreneurial spirit. His father operated a small ferry service, and at just 11 years old, Cornelius left school to work alongside him, learning the trade that would serve as the foundation of his empire. But Cornelius had bigger dreams than his father's humble business. By 16, he was ready to venture out on his own. He asked his mother for a $100 loan, a considerable sum at the time. The condition was simple, yet daunting. He had to clear a rocky field on their property to help with the family's farming needs. Cornelius, ever resourceful, saw an opportunity. He convinced local boys to help him clear the field, promising them free rides on his future boat. This clever deal marked the first of many shrewd business moves. With the field cleared and his loan secured, Cornelius bought his first sailboat. He began ferrying goods and passengers across New York Harbor, quickly gaining a reputation for reliability and affordability. His strategy was straightforward but cutthroat, undercut the competition. He offered the lowest fares, often running at a loss to drive competitors out of business. This aggressive approach paid off, and Cornelius rapidly expanded his fleet, reinvesting every dollar he earned back into his growing enterprise. The War of 1812 between the United States and Great Britain proved to be a turning point. Seeing an opportunity amidst the conflict, Cornelius secured a government contract to transport troops and supplies. This deal not only brought substantial profits but also elevated his status in the business world, earning him the nickname the Commodore. By his early 20s, Cornelius was already a prominent figure in the maritime industry, known for his relentless drive and strategic brilliance. His business acumen was unmatched, and he quickly realized that the real money was not just in ferrying passengers but in dominating entire routes and driving his rivals out of business. Yet Cornelius's personal life was far from smooth sailing. In 1813, he married his cousin, Sophia Johnson. Together they had 13 children, but Cornelius was not known for his paternal warmth. His focus was always on his business, often at the expense of his family. Descriptions of his home life paint a picture of a man driven more by ambition than affection. At one point, he even had Sophia committed to an insane asylum during a particularly intense argument, showcasing his harsh and unforgiving nature. This pattern continued with his children. One son, who suffered from epileptic fits, was also institutionalized, as Cornelius saw any form of weakness as unacceptable. By the 1820s, Cornelius identified a new opportunity: steamboats. He recognized that steamboats were faster, more efficient, and more reliable than sailboats. Sensing the potential to revolutionize transportation, he began investing heavily in this new technology. Applying the same aggressive tactics, he undercut competitors, driving many out of business and consolidating his control over key routes. His fleet grew rapidly, and his wealth increased exponentially. Cornelius was now a dominant force, but he was always looking ahead, seeking the next big opportunity. His relentless pursuit of expansion saw him venture into new territories, constantly challenging the status quo and redefining the boundaries of American commerce. As the 1840s rolled around, Cornelius's focus began to shift from the waterways to the railways. He saw the future of transportation was not on the water but on land. Railroads were expanding, and Cornelius was determined to be at the forefront of this new industry. He started by selling off his steamboat fleet and used the proceeds to buy up small, regional rail lines. His goal was simple: create a vast, interconnected rail network that could transport goods and passengers more efficiently than ever before. His vision was to connect the country from coast to coast, making transportation faster and more reliable than ever. Cornelius employed the same ruthless tactics in the railroad industry that had served him so well on the water. He used his wealth and influence to buy out competitors or force them into unfavorable deals. He consolidated numerous smaller lines into a single, powerful entity, the New York Central Railroad, which became one of the most profitable railroads in the world. His strategy was effective, but it made him many enemies. Competitors viewed him as a bully, using his vast resources to crush anyone who stood in his way. But Cornelius didn't care. For him, business was war, and he intended to win at any cost. As Cornelius aged, his empire continued to grow, but so did the family's internal strife. His children, raised in wealth but under constant pressure to meet their father's high expectations, began to clash over their roles within the family business. Cornelius favored his eldest son, William Henry Vanderbilt, seeing in him a reflection of his own drive and ambition. When Cornelius died in 1877, he left the bulk of his fortune, nearly $100 million, equivalent to over $200 billion today, to William, bypassing his other children and sowing the seeds of discord that would later fracture the family. The decision shocked many, including his own family, who saw it as a clear message only the strongest deserved to inherit his empire. William Henry Vanderbilt proved a capable heir, doubling the family fortune and further expanding their railroad empire. Under his leadership, the Vanderbilts reached the height of their power and influence. However, the family's focus began to shift. The next generation of Vanderbilts, raised in luxury and privilege, were less interested in the gritty business world and more concerned with social status and personal pursuits. They built extravagant mansions, hosted lavish parties, and became fixtures in New York's high society. This period of excess was emblematic of the Gilded Age, a time of great wealth but also great disparity. The Vanderbilts became known not for their business acumen, but for their lavish lifestyle and extravagant spending. One of the most famous of the later Vanderbilts was Consuelo Vanderbilt, whose marriage to the Duke of Marlborough was arranged more for social status than for love. This dollar princess was traded for a title, epitomizing the intersection of wealth and aristocracy that defined the era. Despite their grandeur and glamour, the family fortune began to dwindle as the next generation spent lavishly on maintaining their opulent lifestyles. The shift from building wealth to maintaining social status marked the beginning of the end for the Vanderbilt Empire. By the early 20th century, the Vanderbilt family's influence was waning. The fortune that Cornelius had built and William had expanded was being eroded by successive generations. Gloria Vanderbilt, a descendant of Cornelius, became a symbol of this decline. Her highly publicized custody battle in the 1930s revealed the internal family feuds and the financial strains that had been kept hidden for so long. The Vanderbilts, once synonymous with wealth and power, had become a cautionary tale of how even the greatest fortunes could be squandered over time. The once unbreakable family bond was now shattered by greed, jealousy, and scandal. Today, the Vanderbilt name still resonates, but it is no longer associated with the same level of wealth or influence. The grand estates like the Biltmore House stand as monuments to a bygone era, reminders of the family's former glory and the impermanence of fortune. The Vanderbilt story is one of ambition, power, and legacy, but also of human frailty, excess, and the ultimate cost of a relentless pursuit of wealth. Their rise and fall reflect the complex nature of the American dream, a dream that promises success but often demands a heavy price. From Cornelius Vanderbilt's bold beginnings to the family's dramatic rise and eventual fall, the Vanderbilts remain a powerful symbol of the American dream and the sometimes harsh reality that accompanies it. Their legacy is a stark reminder that no matter how vast the fortune, it can all be lost in the blink of an eye, leaving behind only the stories of a time when the Vanderbilt name was synonymous with power, prestige, and the promise of the new world.